Hi, everyone. We are live. I'm about to turn on the press conference. Here comes Alan Jack. Oh, started.
Associated with this case.
Let's see.
These need to be thoroughly, but very carefully dealt with and examined and looked at and analyzed. We ask that
Taking notes.
process you allow the system to move forward in the way that it was designed to move forward, not with rush to judgment, not with jumping to conclusions, but with restraint and with dignity and with the respect that this system and this process deserves and that the family deserves.
Okay.
With that, we are set for January 7th for an arraignment.
Oh.
That's the next court date. And that's all I have to say at this point. There may be more at some other point, but today we're going to rest on where we stand procedurally, which is this was a continuance of arraignment.
Okay.
Nothing happened today substantively. We'll be back for an arraignment in the same department on the 7th of January. We'll see you then.
Whoa, whoa. Ah. Wow. I guess I just missed the first part. So let's rewind that for a minute, because what he said was that January 7th, there's going to be a continuance of an arraignment. But the very beginning of this, let's rewind. That was crazy. That was so fast. He is getting mobbed, and usually he answers questions. Let me see. Okay. This is the beginning. Here we go.
This is a devastating tragedy that has befallen the Reiner family. We all recognize that. Our hearts go out to the entire Reiner family. There are very
Outside of court.
Complex and serious issues that are associated with this case.
Complex and serious issues.
These need to be thoroughly, but very carefully dealt with and examined.
Okay.
Looked at and analyzed.
Okay.
We ask that process you allow the system to move forward in the way that it was designed to move forward, not with a rush to judgment, not with jumping to conclusions, but with restraint and with dignity and with the respect that this system and this process deserves and that the family deserves. So with that, we are set for January 7th for an arraignment. That's the next court date. And that's all I have to say at this point. There may be more at some other point, but today we're going to rest on where we stand procedurally, which is this was a continuance of arraignment. Nothing happened today substantively. We'll be back for an arraignment in the same department on the 7th of January. We'll see you then.
Wow. Okay. That's wild. I mean, that was super fast. I think what I need to do at this point is, and I looked for this yesterday, but the LA Superior Court docket didn't have any charging information posted yet for Nick Reiner. But they should, because if he has been arraigned, there should be a docket number for this that I can pull from. I didn't see it as of last night, but I should check again today. And if you missed this or any part of this, Alan Jackson said he's due back January 7th for an arraignment or a continuance of an arraignment. So we don't necessarily know what that means, a continuance of an arraignment. You know, I think it might be time that we text Geragos and we see if he has any ideas that I could call him and put him on speaker. I'm going to tell him right now, I'm live right now talking Reiner. May I call and throw you on speaker for a quick question? I am just curious. You know, I think that I have an idea about what this continuance could be for the arraignment, but I don't want to jump to any conclusions. I haven't necessarily experienced continuances of arraignments because look, if you've ever been to one, they're super fast for the most part. I mean, and I guess I'm talking about arraignments where, let's say, the defendant is on release. Those take actually longer, I would say. And those are even fast because when a defendant is free, you know, you have to go over all the release conditions. You have to hear from the suretors. They have to speak, yada, yada. So the fact that this would entail none of that. I'm a little confused. So let's see. Jackson mentioned, I'm just spelling it all out for him. Jackson mentioned continuance of arraignment. And you know what? If we don't get Geragos, I can call another lawyer and I can have them sort of explain. But we can just go over really quickly what we know so far while we're waiting for Geragos to get back to me here. What we know so far with the killings of Rob and Michele Reiner. So sad. I recently started to just process everything, I think. And when I say process everything, I guess I mean from Romy Reiner's perspective. I've been reporting on this. I've been doing a lot of media hits on this, and it's tough when you do them because you're getting to the facts of the situation, but it comes across insensitive. Let's be honest. You hear the news, you hear people talking about it, and it's like, you're like, this is what happened. I think their throats were slit. I mean, it's horrific to speak about it. But then you take a step back and you think about Romy. She's 27 years old and she found her parents in that state. I mean, I don't have words. Exactly. Absolutely heartbreaking for her. And think about this. I mean, you walk into a devastating, beyond devastating, tragic, gruesome, shocking situation like that. And many of us, what do? We call our mom. We call our dad. That's her mom and dad. That's insane. Let's see. I'm going to put one more text out. Like I said, Geragos is 9:30. He might see this, but let me put one more text out to an attorney. But yeah, exactly. Forever changed. And now she's got her brother. And look, I mean, you might not always get along with your brother, with your family, but they're your blood. So I can't even imagine how she is feeling at this point. I mean, she must be just so torn and in such a horrible place mentally that I cannot even fathom this. So Nick Reiner will be held clearly without bail is what I'm assuming here. I mean, it was revoked the other day. I think a lot of us were really confused at that. I mean, there was a lot of comparisons where it's like, okay, this is kind of like letting OJ walk, upon his arrest, which is crazy. That's initially what we thought was going to happen with the $4 million bail that was available to Nick Reiner when we first heard about his detainment or arrest. And at that point, by the way, the charges hadn't officially they had not been filed yet at that point. And you know what's interesting? I recently learned this, but in California, it's clearly not the same as New York, whereas the grand jury, I mean, it's a public thing. So LAPD actually announced, and I should find this because this is super interesting. They actually announced on Monday that a grand jury would be meeting on Tuesday to decide if the filing charges would move forward or not. So I was like, oh, that's crazy that they're just announcing this right now. And I think, we all figured as much, that there would be charges announced, but we didn't know the specific charges. So the specific charges are, of course, it's a double first-degree murder, but there are special circumstances tied to this per California law. And the special circumstances really just mean that it's a double homicide, basically. Let's see. Nope, that wasn't Geragos. But let me find the LAPD statement because I don't know if a lot of people saw it the other day. It's the LAPD PIO Twitter. And anytime they put a memo up, it's so hard to read. Their writing is just so small. It's killing me. Okay, here it is. Detectives announce arrest. And all right, let me try to make this big and share this instead. I'll make this much bigger. Hang on. If I can. Okay. So let's go to the part. Sorry, I'll take your message off, even though it was very kind. Let's go to the part where it says, okay, Nick Reiner was located and arrested at approximately 9:15 p.m. He was booked for murder and remains in custody with no bail under booking number 714668. On Tuesday, December 16th, 2025, the case will be presented to the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office for filing consideration. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, that right there is either saying that it, again, goes directly to the DA's office or, again, to a grand jury, like I mentioned. So there were no charges yet, none yet. And I think that might have been confusing for some people. And look, I'm still getting used to all of this. But yeah, so as soon as they had the charges in mind, either, from a grand jury or just from the DA's office, that's when they could officially announce yesterday, and then they could file. So here we are. Now he is officially charged, and they have also announced that they are not necessarily taking the death penalty off the table yet, which is kind of crazy. I guess I shouldn't say it's crazy. Nathan Hochman, he is a conservative DA, so I guess I shouldn't be super surprised. I just feel like, yeah, if that was Gascon, he would definitely not have said the death penalty is on the table. And sorry for smiling. Again, that's my face sometimes, so I apologize. But I think at this point in the investigation, I think that the LAPD, they are working on a timeline, which is crucial, very, very crucial to this case. They need a timeline to determine Nick Reiner's, again, he is clearly just being charged at this point. He is still innocent until proven guilty. Got to say it. But I think they're forming a timeline to sort of determine a couple things. Obviously, if it's pretty conclusive that he did it or not, and if he did do it, they're probably investigating whether or not this was premeditated. Did he plan this? Was he planning this? Or was this a crime of passion? Let me look at this. Okay. Why is it crazy they haven't sorry. No, I was just saying, as I said this, I said I shouldn't be surprised because it's DA Hochman. I think I would have been surprised if Gascon said it because I didn't feel like he was really a supporter of the death penalty. So that's why initially I was like, oh, I'm surprised. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm not, because it's Hochman. So I see someone that says but you didn't finish. So yeah. So anyway, so that's where I'm at in terms of, LAPD just going hard, but also ensuring that they do everything right. Because at this point, in my opinion, take it for, what it is, Alan Jackson is a super skilled attorney. If you paid attention to the Karen Reed case out of Massachusetts, he was, Geragos is here. Okay, let's change. Okay, let me see. Calling now. Okay. Okay, let me call him. Let me change this banner too so we can get him on and say, actually, Geragos on the phone, Nick Reiner. Sorry, guys. Just updating this. It's so annoying. These the banners now on StreamYard, they're like, show for 10 seconds. It's so frustrating. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to try to hold it like this so it. Okay. Oh, stupid.
Hello, Miss Conlon.
Hello, Geragos. You are live on our Los Angeles Magazine live stream. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm stuck in Los Angeles traffic, so
very gosh,
appropriate.
That's the worst. Hey, chat, can you guys hear Geragos? I'm having a. Yeah, you sound a little fuzzy, but.
Hold on. Let's see if I can solve that.
Yeah, let me know. I need to update this banner too. Don't worry, guys. This will be worth it.
Is that any better?
Yes, actually, that is better. Guys, is that good for you?
Yeah.
Okay. So Geragos, I don't know if you just saw this, but the presser Alan Jackson gave, I just watched it twice on the live stream because it was only 2 minutes long. But he said something strange. He basically said, there's nothing new to report here. And then he said January 7th is the arraignment. And then he kind of caught himself and said it's a continuance of an arraignment. What does that mean? Arraignments are 3 minutes. I don't understand.
So you have the ability at the arraignment to enter one of a multitude of pleas under the code. You could say my client is not guilty. You could say my client is guilty. That rarely happens.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could say under the code, my client is not guilty by reason of insanity. I'm going to speculate wildly that they are investigating between now and then an NGI plea.
Oh, you know what? This is why you're good. This is why you're good. Okay, so if he entered a plea not guilty by reason of insanity, the judge can't just accept that. The prosecutors can't just accept that. They have to do diligence on this in order to say, okay.
Well, what happens is most likely between now and then, Alan will get, or the family will get a expert to evaluate him. They'll have a report that's confidential to him. Then when they enter the plea, the prosecutor has got the ability to ask the court to appoint somebody at their request, at the prosecution's request, and it starts a whole mental health evaluation process. And that, I will be bold enough to say, is where I think this is headed.
Okay, and then again, forgive my ignorance. So let's say you have the defense, their expert that, let's say, deems him insane, legally insane, clinically insane, whatever. And then you have the prosecution who says, our expert says no. And then does the judge get to hear oral arguments from both sides? Okay.
Yes, but in addition to that, there's a corollary to that, and that may be why he's not medically cleared, is under 1368 of the penal code. It could be that he's in such a state that he's unable to assist counsel, assist Alan, and there could be an issue as to whether he's competent right now to even enter a plea.
Oh, well, that's interesting as well.
Yeah, it's my guess is that at some point Alan is getting an analysis from a professional and to whether or not he's going to declare a doubt. That's the term for it. Whether he's going to declare a doubt as to competency. If that happens, that triggers a whole nother mental health process separate and apart from a not guilty by reason of insanity plea.
Okay. Well, I mean, listen, I believe that all of this could be reversed. And I look at the Mike Jeffries case, the Abercrombie CEO. At one point, they deemed him, unfit to stand trial. But now there are reports coming forward by various experts saying, actually, he's good now. He's fine. And so the judge, that's up to him, right, to decide again right. So we could be, God, I hate to say it, but this could be going on for a long time.
I've had cases involving parricide, which is what we have here, that have lasted for close to a decade. One of the problems is that if you declare a doubt, then you have to suspend the proceedings if that turns out to be true. If the person...
Oh, wait, you cut out. You must be hitting a bad spot. Oh,
yeah.
Yep, you're good. You're good.
Okay. So if you declare a doubt, that will suspend the proceedings or can suspend the proceedings. And if it turns out that the person is incompetent, then they get removed and sent to no longer housed in county jail usually and get sent to a mental health facility.
Oh boy. Okay. And I guess my other question here would be, let's say that I guess let's say they don't accept the not guilty by reason of insanity plea, then they would just accept a typical not guilty plea, and then we would just move on as planned. How?
No, what would happen is, no matter what, if he's competent, and that's a big if, given the facts that have been reported, I think that's a huge if. But if he's competent, the judge has no ability to reject at this stage an NGI plea. You enter both the NGA.
You enter both the NGI.
What's happening? NGI is not guilty by reason of insanity. Judge has to at least allow you to do that to trigger all of the panoply of protections that happen.
Okay, so we are looking at possibly even on January 7th that continuance of an arraignment that honestly could still be nothing. It could be the judge reviewing both reports, or we could only have one report in. Like, what do you think? Like, it's going to be one side?
No, I think what's going to happen is I think Alan probably will get a report that says that his client is incompetent. That's why he continued the arraignment. If he's incompetent, he can't understand the proceedings to enter a plea, and then that triggers the 1368 process.
Okay. Well, I'm going to just say this, and I don't know everything clearly, but Mark, I mean, Nick Reiner fled the scene. That's where he lived. He was living at the house, so to speak. He fled the scene and he checked into a hotel. Wouldn't that tell you that he knew what he did was wrong and he had the wherewithal to leave?
That's a completely different calculation than whether he's competent.
Oh.
I've had cases, parasite cases, where the accused not only fled the state, but fled the state and still was rendered incompetent to stand trial for years.
Wow. This is so interesting. I'm very anxious. And of course, this is incredibly heartbreaking for the rest of the family because, you know, it's their blood, their brother, but they lost the patriarch and the matriarch of their family. I mean, this is horrible. This is just absolutely horrible.
Look, as a parent or a grandparent, then you can't imagine anything worse. But at the same time, I don't think, and I haven't interacted with Rob Reiner in many years, although we did have he was very supportive on a number of cases that I've had.
Aww.
And I will tell you, the Rob Reiner I know never, ever would have wanted to see the DA charge his son with the death penalty, even in this horrendous circumstance.
Yeah. I mean, I was saying before, at first I was a little shocked to hear that. And then I did remember that it was Hockman and not Gascon, of course. Right. And then right. I wasn't shocked. And that, you know, it's an interesting point you make because you're right. And the DA's office actually in the press conference yesterday remarked briefly that of course they take the family's feelings into consideration, but also, you know, they don't necessarily have to, right? It's his office. They make the calls. They don't, of course, I'm talking about the family that is alive, but you know, if they feel the same way, it doesn't really matter in the end, right? It's up to them.
Oh, the DA gets the last call.
Yeah.
But it shows, you know, or it's on display a lot of things that you don't have time to get into, or I don't have time to get into.
Yeah, no, I understand. And you know, my whole thing about the defense here, if the insanity defense doesn't work, I mean, I was just surmising that at Alan Jackson, LAPD better cross all their T's, dot all their I's, because Alan Jackson is incredibly good at disseminating all of the police missteps and making the focus on that. And then again, taking the heat off of his client.
He's a wonderful man and a great lawyer.
Yeah, no, he is. And the other question that many people, you know, and I don't think you necessarily have the answer to this, but I think a lot of people are like, well, how is Nick Reiner going to pay for this? If you red rum your parents, you don't necessarily have access to your trust fund, right? I mean, how how does this work?
Once again, I'm going to wildly speculate. I was waiting to see who the lawyer would be.
Yeah.
And when the lawyer was Alan Jackson, not a public defender, there's a lot of speculation I could get into that I won't, but that would signal to me that the remaining family members are in sync with what I would have expected Rob Reiner thought, which is he needs help.
Okay. Okay. You're making me look at this from
I was going to say, I'm making you look at this from a completely different angle. Correct. Because it's a lot more complicated than the knee-jerk reflexive hang 'em high. This is obviously his father knew. His father, his father had spent his son's lifetime dealing with this. And I've seen this, and I'm not minimizing it, but I've seen this movie countless times. It is a struggle that hits across every political, economic, and social brick of our society. Mental health is a issue that is not determined by your economics or anything else. And mental health is a huge problem. And this was something they grappled with.
Yeah. And no, you're right. And I am looking at this from a different angle based on everything that you were saying right now. And I understand a lot of this is speculation based on your expertise, what you know. And I'm not a doctor. I don't mean to sound harsh or anything, but just because you have a substance abuse problem, why does that automatically make you a candidate to be mentally ill, I guess? Because we hear he's in and out of drug rehab. I haven't necessarily heard that he's been in and out of mental hospitals, right? And I'm just playing devil's advocate, I guess. So, what do we know about that?
That's where having listened to the experts over the years, and the term self-medicated and everything else, unfortunately that's one of the I don't know if you want to call it a symptom. I don't know if you want to call it a result, but it's a chicken and the egg situation in a lot of cases. So
yeah, and I'm not saying it. Yeah, go ahead.
More complex. A lot more complex, and the fact that I think you're going to find that the remaining family members do not want or are not in sync with where the prosecutors or much of the public may be. I think you will find soon enough is my prediction.
I think you're right. I really do. And my eyes are open. And again, I was not saying that doesn't happen, right? The mental illness and the addiction, because like you said, it's self-medication. They do go hand in hand. I was just genuinely wondering for myself and my own curiosity. But yeah, that was really helpful, Geragos. Thank you so much. The chat is very grateful that you jumped on to discuss this. And sorry, the last thing I wanted to ask you. So in a case like this, I think I had just misread the LAPD announcement where I assumed that it was quickly going to a grand jury because that's what they do. But the DA's office was just going to file these charges, right? This didn't even go to a grand jury from what I understand.
Right. I don't understand a lot of that because it didn't make sense. And I said it at the time. I didn't understand why they would have or could have or should have, because it sounded to me like it's obvious to me from the nature of the crime that there are mental health issues that have to be litigated first and foremost.
So you're saying it. You also don't know if it went to a grand jury or not, because you would think that the mental health stuff would come up.
Correct. They've got a duty under California law to present a full picture to the grand jury. Unlike federal law, where you can just go in and kind of run through the motions, California's got a case called Johnson where you've got to present exculpatory evidence. So they would have had to present any mental health issues to the grand jury. They don't want to do that.
They definitely didn't then. I don't think that they would have had time because he was due for his arraignment, I think, yesterday at 8:30 in the morning in California.
It would have been highly unlikely that they would have gone to the grand jury and gotten an indictment prior to the arraignment.
Right. Right. That's so interesting. Okay. That's actually that's what I was wondering. I was like, okay, this is not, yeah, okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. So maybe that will help Nick Reiner's case with the insanity plea. Who knows?
Well, I'm not so sure they're ever going to get past the competency issue, but let's wait and see.
Okay.
Remember that code section, 1368.
Code section 1368. Okay.
You got it.
All right.
Thank you,
All right.
Lauren.
You're the best. Thanks, Geragos. Bye. Okay. That was yeah, that really kind of blew my mind. I should have known. Every time I speak to him, I'm like, "Oh, okay, when you say that, now it totally makes sense." So, and also the fact that this case probably should have been brought to a grand jury with the mental health issues laid out on the table, with the addiction issues that are laid out on the table, but it wasn't. So will that help Nick Reiner's case in the end? I don't know. And Joe, oh my gosh, true crime with the Sarge. Not to put you on the spot, but Joe is amazing. Do you have 10 minutes where I can send you this link and you can jump on with me just to talk about the search warrant? Because I want to also point out that the LAPD, although there were exigent circumstances, they can enter the house based on a suspected homicide. In order to search the entire house, they needed to wait on this search warrant, and it took 6 hours. Okay, Joe, you're not available. That's okay. Even audio, I can send you the link. Oh, you are available. I can even send you audio, but let me text this to you right now. Let me add you here, because that would be great if you could just quickly explain why they needed to wait and what possibly took so long. Hang on. Texting this to you now. Guys, Joe is awesome. He is an ex-sergeant with the NYPD, excuse me. He is a great channel that you can see here, True Crime with the Sarge. He's awesome. So yeah, no, Hippie, this is what I do, by the way. I'm always like, who can I gather in my Rolodex to inform me of things that I know a little bit about, but just not much. Yes, everybody go subscribe to Joe because he's really great. And we were discussing this offline about the search warrant, and I was just sitting here like what could possibly be taking so long? I feel like as a district attorney, I get that it's Sunday, I get that it's late, but hello, you've got a double homicide, right? And not only that, but let's be honest, when it's high profile people, they do tend to move faster, and it sucks that is how things are, but that's just the way it is. They move faster, and there's more of kind of a spotlight shown on them. 100%. They're under just very intense scrutiny. So yeah, so I was definitely confused. Okay, I also want to discuss something else while we wait for Joe. There are a lot of rumors flying around. Billy Bush, he is has that podcast Hot Mics with Billy Bush. Obviously, he's not necessarily a journalist. He's not a reporter. He was a former host. Now he's the host of a podcast. He was revealing that he had a source in the neighborhood that actually said that Michele Reiner was still alive when she was, when emergency services were called to the home. Now, the fire department was first, which I have questions on for Joe. But the fire department was first, but Billy Bush said someone told him she was still alive. I don't know how that could be possible, and this is just my guess. My guess was that this was done to Rob and Michele in their sleep and this is, I'm guessing this for a number of reasons. Here's Joe. Great. Here he is.
Hey, sorry, get this all done fast here.
Hear me?
Yes,
Wait, I can't. Can you guys hear Joe? Is it me? Let's see.
Can you?
He's checked.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Okay. Fire comes with an ambulance when you call. Okay. Got it. I did not realize is that a California thing? Wait, so everyone can hear Joe except for me? Joe, talk for a second.
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Well, I don't understand. Okay, people are saying they can hear you, and I'm the one that cannot hear you. That is so strange. Let me. Oh, hold on. I don't know. Okay, we should be good now. Hi.
Yes. Hi,
Okay,
how are you?
that was me. Sorry, it was going to my headphone. So I just briefly, because I was just discussing how Billy Bush had stated that one of the neighbors said that they thought that Michelle was still alive. For a number of reasons, I wasn't so sure because, yeah, number one, when Nick was seen checking into this Pierside Santa Monica hotel, allegedly he did not have any any visible wounds. He wasn't visibly injured. So I'm thinking, all right, no defensive wounds. I mean, if you are going to attack two people with a knife at the same time and you come away totally injury free, do you think that means he did it in their sleep, right? When they kind of got home from the party that night and he went to the hotel. There was blood in the bed apparently. Like, how could she
Well, that
survive
would be
all
the
day?
logical thing. Yeah, that would be the logical thing that he attacked them while they were sleeping. But even then, the initial stage, somebody gets stabbed, they're gonna wake up and they're gonna wake up their other partner too. So there's a lot more to the story than we don't know per se. I mean, apparently it might have happened as early as maybe 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. all this time because he checks in at 4 a.m.
Yes.
allegedly at this hotel. So it happens really early at night, or excuse me, in the morning. People are generally asleep at that time, and they're unfortunately easier victims. And I think the
Yeah.
question comes down to is, are they in the same exact room? Are they in the same position where was one found on the floor, one found on the bed, right?
Mhm.
We don't know any of that stuff just yet. And I take whatever I hear from some of the tabloids and the voices with a grain of salt. Let's put it that way.
No, and same here. And it's funny that you say this because it's so weird. I don't know why in my head, I did not picture them being in separate rooms. But now that you say that, it makes a lot of sense in terms of like, oh, mom falls asleep in bed, dad falls asleep on the couch while watching something, and then he goes.
Exactly.
So that's actually really interesting. I think just the way things were framed to us initially, where it's like, they get in this heated argument and then he stabs them. You're thinking like they're yelling at each other and then he just stab. You know what I mean? That's initially, and I'm like, that doesn't really make any sense either. But what
Well,
you
if he's
just said,
staying in the guest house, right? He waits for them to go. He's brewing whatever, and maybe he comes out there. Remember, this is like the Reiners held, heads of state. They were having a dinner with former President Barack Obama. So
yeah,
if you're telling me that this place doesn't have state-of-the-art surveillance and technology and security, I think we're kidding ourselves because of the major players that come in there and visit. And he's a big Democratic supporter, and he has all of these individuals coming over. So they have exact video, the time frame, if Nick leaves the cottage or whatever it is and goes there. But
oh yeah,
you said you
and
want.
yeah, they definitely were saying in the presser yesterday. They were asking about time of death, and I think it was the LAPD. They were like, the coroner's trying to determine that." And I'm like, "Bitch, please! They determine that on the spot, and you know it.
Yeah,
Like, Joe,
we
you
we
know that
did
too.
that. Yeah,
Like,
we did
yeah,
that
come
too, right?
on, you know that.
Well,
But let's
the investigators try to figure out a time of death, an estimated time of death or the postmortem interval, because they want to have a launching platform for their investigative timeline. Yes, we're going to wait from the official
yes,
medical examiner review, and the medical legal death investigator at the scene is going to give us a potential time frame, but that time frame is not supposed to be released to the media, right? That's for your investigative timeline. Let the ME release that later on down the road after he or she has completed their autopsy and they've come up. Because remember, there are things that the ME does, like the vitreous humor or the removal of the fluid from the eye with the potassium levels and all. That all gets done at the ME's office, and it's one of the a really good way of determining the time of death. So you kind of wait for that
I
thing.
take
But
it back. I take it back. Again, this is why I am here on YouTube with you and writing stories and reporting. And yeah, you are you. So thank you so much for that. Yeah, I take it back. All right, Joe, break it down for me with the search warrant. What do you
Okay.
think took so long, and why is this so important?
Okay. So I know in television, right, a lot of people see there's a homicide, something happens, and the police go in and they do the entire crime scene investigation and blah blah blah. Well, in reality, there is in the United States we have our Fourth Amendment right against unreasonable searches and seizures. Now,
Mm.
it doesn't happen all the time, but when you have a homicide that happens inside of a home, and we do know from statistics that most people are victimized by someone we know, we have to, meaning me, not me per se anymore, but the law enforcement has to make the decision, does our suspect potentially have an absolute right to privacy to this location? And if they
Mm.
do, you need a search warrant. Now, initially, the Supreme Court has carved out what we refer to as the emergency exception, which is one of the exceptions to the search warrant. Really, there's 9 of them that affects law enforcement. There are more, like there's one about borders and stuff like that, which doesn't really affect it. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
So, and the emergency exception lays out pretty much simply as this: the police are allowed to enter a location where somebody is either injured, seriously injured, or likely to die. They're allowed to look for what we refer to as elephant in the ashtray. If you're looking for a person, you can look anywhere a person can fit, under a bed, in a closet, those kind of things. Like, you're not going to be opening up sock drawers while you're doing this looking for a person. So
Okay. Yeah,
you
true.
search the entire house. Not only are you looking for additional victims, but you're also looking for the perpetrator if he or she is still in the home. You want to clear it, right? You don't want to have the police presence there doing something and the guy jumps out of the closet with an axe, right? That would not be good. So the
Right.
issue, you want to clear the entire house. Once that is clear, excuse me, and the emergency is over, the
Mhm.
Supreme Court has told us that you need to evaluate about your potential suspect. Now, in this case, they had video that showed probably Nick leaving from one place to the other. And
Mhm.
from what we know, that the sister said you should look at him. So they already had an idea maybe who was involved in this. So they
Mhm.
make the correct call. And the correct call is we have to get a warrant. And this has been given to us in 2 Supreme Court decisions: Mincy versus Arizona, which was
Yeah.
78, I believe, and then in Thompson versus Louisiana, that basically doubled down on Mincy and says that once the emergency's over, the police have to get a warrant.
I
This
read the
even got
Mincy
extended.
versus
Yeah.
Arizona. That was intense. Yeah.
And then it got extended in a case called Flippo versus West Virginia, which is one of my favorite stories because it happened in a cabin in the middle of the woods in West Virginia where this guy had killed his wife. And this extended that home rule to places like a hotel room. I guess an Airbnb would be considered that now. So all those
Yeah.
things, you have an absolute right to privacy, and the police need a warrant. And now it could take a couple of hours to get a warrant, but unlike television too, you don't have to physically have the warrant in your hands in order to execute it. As long as a member of your department has the warrant, they can call you up on the cell phone and say, "All right, Joe, I got it. Go." And they can go
Mhm.
in there. The paperwork will come to the house just in case somebody wants, demand to see it. They'll get it. But until then, you can go do your search. Does that?
Okay. And
I try to
yeah,
make it
no.
as simple as possible. Yeah.
No, it makes sense, and it's so true because it's funny, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but we don't normally hear police say, "Well, we're waiting on a search warrant. We're waiting on a search warrant." I felt like they were sharing that with us so we would know that everything was being done properly when the time came. Because as you know, all of this stuff comes out in court during the pretrial hearings, during the actual trial. Everything that police did or didn't do. So I kind of felt like they were sharing this on purpose, I guess, to show us, you know, the fact they
Well,
were just following all the rules. And yeah.
it might not have been on purpose per se. I mean, they had to. This was procedurally the correct thing to do. But it
Yeah.
also was foretelling. If you were an outsider watching this and you hear them saying they're getting a search warrant, the first thing everyone should have thought of was the perpetrator lives in the house, because that would be the only reason why they would need a search warrant, right?
Right.
And they could have also been dealing with, maybe at the initial stages of this, they were looking at maybe a homicide suicide, and
That's what
meaning,
that's what we had talked about, Joe, you and I.
yeah.
I was like, "What?" Yeah, I was, "Oh my gosh, wait."
Yeah, that
You
would have
know
been a
what?
scenario that they would have been going through. So, the old saying in policing: when in doubt, fill it out. So if you don't know, fill out the paperwork, get the warrant, and the warrant, a judge has got to be working.
Mm,
You got to be available. So this is happening late in the afternoon. We know courts close. Yes, it's LA, but that doesn't mean, New York, we had judges on only 24 hours a day, only during the terrorism stuff. So you still
yeah.
need to find a judge and get it done.
Right. And so Karen White actually, she just posted what I was going to say because, and this might not be the case, but in the Diddy trial, he had a guest house, and that actually, if I'm remembering correctly, it wasn't Two Star Island. It was a different address. And that was brought up because I think they only had one search warrant for Two Star Island. So that was one of my questions. Like, is the Reiner guest house, is that the same address? Do you need a separate warrant for a guest house, or no, if it's just on the same property? You know what I mean?
Well,
Like if someone else lives there and yeah.
in this case, I mean, you would get the warrant for the address that it has. Now, if the guest house comes with a different address, which we've seen, I mean, this is LA, right? So you have houses on top of houses and backyards.
Yeah.
You would then have to get a separate warrant for each house. But in this case, they probably would got one warrant and include anything on the properties, including, pool houses and all the other things that go along with it.
And those
I
hold
don't
up
have
in
to. Yeah,
court?
I
Like,
never have to worry about those things in my house because I don't have a pool house. I don't have a guest house. I don't have anything else.
not many of us do, but I guess just being in court so much lately, I'm just realizing that not everything holds up. Like you can make an argument for anything, and then it all depends on the judge. It all depends on, how the judge feels, what he's thinking, whatever. So will that hold up if there's a separate address for the guest house? If, I don't know.
Well,
I
you would
just,
hope that they did their homework. You would hope that they did their homework first, right?
yeah.
So, in regarding specifically that, so if it's a different address, then yes, they should have gotten a separate warrant, or at least have that address included on it, making it part of the property, so to speak. Uh,
Yeah.
that is all in the wording that it gets done. And listen, if you have established probable cause, saying,
Mhm.
and that could have been as simple as showing a video surveillance camera of the suspect walking from the gatehouse to the main house, right? Or vice versa, he's leaving it after this event, and and then the statements from the sister and all the other stuff. I think you could very easily establish probable cause in order to get that warrant.
For the guest house, right? I know. I'm just thinking about how that will be included on the warrant, and then we'll be in court, and the defense will be like, all right, well, let me just read you, you said this. Let me just read you the policy, the LAPD policy on, and then it's like, here's the policy. Does it say anything about, looping everything in together without a separate address? I just can so see that happening. Just,
Well,
top to
I
bottom.
mean, listen, the defense is going to try that's their job, right? And yes, it's Alan Jackson, and yes, with the Karen Reed stuff. But all I can say is, L.A. isn't Canton. I mean, these guys do this for a living, right? There will be no red Solo cups or leaf blowers or anything else like that going on. So he's going to have
I
a
don't know.
tougher road.
OJ Simpson.
But that was a long time ago, right?
I
But that
know.
was a long
I know.
time ago. Ironically, it's only the O.J. Simpson house is only like 5 minutes away from this.
I know. Apparently, I don't know if you saw, but Nicole Brown's sister was like, I saw that headline and I was very triggered, like stabbing in Brentwood. I cannot imagine how, like, that just brought all these memories back for her.
Well, when this we were talking a little bit about this when this was going on. One of the things that I ever learned through experience is that when you have a knife attack like this, it's up close and personal, and it's generally a very close relationship between the suspect and the victim, especially when there's things of overkill, because
Yeah.
generally you can't get a stranger that mad at you. This isn't a burglary gone wrong, right? This is something personal. And
Mhm.
you start to look at the immediate people who are as close to them. And I think if we would have had time to talk about this while this was going on, I think we would have come to that conclusion before the
Totally.
announcement was made.
Totally. And it is interesting. I don't know if you heard Geragos at all, but the payment of Alan Jackson, he surmised that it was the family, and they might have the same perspective that he believes Rob Reiner would have for his son, which is, I want to get him the best defense. I don't want him to face capital punishment for this because he is my son. It's just, it's hard for us to get our heads around because it was so brutal.
Well, his
But
grandfather passed away a few years ago that could have left him a lot of money too, right? Carl Reiner died a few
yeah,
years ago, and
oh,
could
good
have left
point.
him a lot of money too. So, but the issue that comes down to is the death penalty. They said they were going to make a decision on that going forward. To me,
Mhm.
they're just going to use that as leverage, right? If he wants to
Yeah.
take a plea, they'll just say, okay, we'll take the death penalty off the table. You take the plea and let's move on from this. But I think we're
Yeah.
gearing up for a mental capacity or competency test. We're
Yes.
leaning towards that. That's what they'll be doing, and that will happen in the next couple of weeks. But other than that, as long
Yeah.
as they, I heard you say, dot their I's and cross their T's, but that should be
Mhm.
for every case, not just for any case that you're going up, against the, whatever,
I mean,
the
it
big guns, so to
should.
speak.
It should, right? But as we're learning, or as I'm learning about all these different cases, it's like, I mean, investigators, law enforcement, they're human beings, right? And it's just funny.
Mistakes happen.
Yeah, and it's not even just mistakes, Joe. It's like and I'm referring to Mangione because that's what I'm sitting through right now. But we're hearing in court, and it's a defense attorney's job. But when a lieutenant hears that they could possibly have the New York CEO shooter in this McDonald's, and he's texting his patrolman, he's joking about buying him a hoagie, and the defense is just like, "Oh, did you put a wink face on that text?" And he says yes, and they're like, "Oh, but you wanted your patrolman to take it seriously. That was the whole reason you texted him." And it's kind of like he's a human being. He's texting his patrolman with a wink face. I get it that everybody's so appalled by it because we're sitting in court, but that was just a regular day for him before this happened. That was just a regular freaking whatever it was, Thursday. You know what I mean?
It could be a lot of things too. Like he could have, in policing, especially, I spent a long time doing this stuff. It could also be like, yeah, we got the CEO here, right? Wink. Like this is BS kind of stuff too.
Yes.
So
yes.
yeah,
And I
like,
guess,
oh yeah, we got the second gunman on the grassy knoll, right? I mean, at this point, they might have
yes.
just said, yeah, well, what is this guy doing all the way the hell out in Altoona? That's basically, I think, the attitude that they had.
100% it's just funny because you're sitting there and you're like, initially you're like, "Ooh, yeah, that sounds bad." That was my thinking too. I'm like, "Ooh, that does not sound great." And then I'm like, wait, he's just a human being talking to another human being off the record because they're probably buds. They're probably bros. And we're sitting here like, oh, tisk, 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 tisk. That's not really how it should be, in my opinion. I've got to process this stuff before I, regurgitate an opinion. But
Cops are a different animal, though, too. This could be very sarcastic, very, most of it's defense mechanism side of things. But I honestly, I think they had no idea what they were really dealing with in the initial stages of this. They probably dismissed this, right? Some bodies calling in and saying, we got this guy here, 3 hours away from New York City. Like, yeah, come on.
yes, no, totally. And I am not excusing all text messages between cops, okay? We're not excusing Michael Proctor here. No. Those
But
are not normal
this is what
texts.
they're going to do. That's why this is what
Not
defense
normal.
attorneys are going to do. The cops
Yeah.
better be careful about what they're texting and what they're doing because
Yeah.
the groundwork has been laid out already with the Karen Reed trial. Don't
Mm,
do it. Don't use your personal phone for anything.
no. I mean, if any of us learned anything from Karen Reed, I would say just watch your group texts. Literally watch your text messages. I mean, I thought I was like decent via text with groups and whatever, and I'm like, man, even the little things, I'm like, it's just so cringy to have all that out there. But
Yep.
anyway, Joe, yeah, this has been great. Thank you so very much for coming on
welcome.
and sharing your wisdom. Guys, go follow Joe. His YouTube is so amazing. He has incredible guests, and of course, he tells us all about anything and everything having to do with law enforcement, crime, policing. It's wonderful. So at True Crime with the Sarge, is that right?
Yep.
I'll put that in the
True
chat
Crime
right
with the
now.
Sarge. Yep.
Just True Crime with the Sarge.
With the Sarge.
With. Okay.
Yeah, I did a show this morning on something similar, and I also did, if anybody's interested, I also did the breakdown of all the 3 Supreme Court decisions on when you have to get a warrant, which some people really like because it's about an educational level thing too.
Yeah, no, I love that. Because I was looking at the Mincy versus Arizona, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's totally crazy. All right. Well,
read
yeah.
the flip over when you get a chance. Read Flip Over versus West Virginia because that one is an absolute banger.
Okay, I definitely will. And by the way, Kay, you don't have to be here. You can go if my voice bothers you. Bye. See you later. Later. Okay. Joe, are you so happy you got to be here for that? Yeah, actually, I think I can actually kick people out. There you go. I just did. I don't I didn't realize that I forgot I could do that because I haven't sort
You
of
wield the
navigated.
power.
I know. I didn't realize. But actually, you know what's so funny is just whatever stupid side gossip. The other day, I think I was texting with you about basically when Luigi Mangione supporters came after me for putting a photo of him yelling on a different day. I was just in court live tweeting. They said he yelled something at the press, and I was like, oh, let me get a picture of him tweeting just for context. Like, no big deal, whatever. Well, they had came at me and they were saying that I was trying to mislead this narrative and control the narrative and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, yeah, I wish I kind of had the brain capacity to actually think like that at the moment, but I don't. I'm live tweeting, filing a story, doing videos, etc. And they kept coming for me. And finally, I never do this, Joe, but I hit the block. I hit the block for a handful of them because I'm also one of the few people that's live tweeting all day, which is like, all right, well, then you're not going to get any information from me if you want to be rude, because I didn't do anything. I clarified. I even said, I'm so sorry if anyone thought that, which is more than I felt like I had to do. But anyway. All right.
Very
Well,
good.
yeah, you're the best. We love you. And we will talk to you soon. Okay.
You got it. Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, Joe. Bye. He's amazing. Like I said, go follow his channel. He is my go-to when it just comes to anything having to do with law enforcement, policing, etc. So wait, I know, right? People are just, I just feel like I think you need to give people the benefit of the doubt here and not always assume that people have ill or malicious intentions. I mean, that is what's so funny to me. It's like you think that my intentions are ill or I'm trying to push my own narrative when it's like actually my intentions were the opposite. I was actually trying to make people feel like they were in the courtroom or they were, getting to experience these hearings through my ex, which is why I wanted to add just some pictures. So that's really all it was. It wasn't anything beyond that. I mean, yeah, I don't know. So yeah, that was that. Sorry, that was my stupid TED talk about. Oh, and then this is also very funny. I'll just be petty. I'm like, should I put a picture of 50 Cent up right now just to be super petty? So yesterday, and after this happened, and thank you so much, Hippie, you're awesome. So after this whole thing happened, and I had to block a bunch of people, whatever. I kind of felt a little strange, I guess, around some of his supporters in court. And actually, there's a couple of them that are so nice and so sweet. Like the blonde girl that I interviewed, I think her name was Ariel. She's so nice. And I see her, she's always smiling, whatever. But yesterday, sorry, just wrote on myself. I'm sitting on a bench during a break or something, and like 3 supporters, they go to this journalist next to me from Rolling Stone, and they were like, "Oh, we follow your work, and we really appreciate everything you're doing, and they're like, we want to give you this." And it was a packet, an informational packet that they put together about basically it was just saying that Luigi's rights were violated. They didn't, the Altoona police didn't follow bomb protocol. It was just well-researched stuff, based on their opinions, based on, what they found in researching the case and different laws, whatever. They had some, they had whatchamacallit. They had some QR codes that were on there as well. And they gave it to this journalist in front of me. And they, I was writing a story. I wasn't like, butthurt. And I was kind of half paying attention. But after they gave it to her, I kind of forgot about it until I went back into court and a girl in front of me had it. And she's like, "Oh, do you want to look at it?" And I was like, "Sure." So I took a look at it. I took a picture. And while we were waiting for the next witness, I did a tweet about it and I put the picture up and I detailed what it was. And I just, again, I don't necessarily give my opinions on anything really. It's very rare. I just put this out there for people. And I woke up to a comment, I guess, from the girl that gave it to the journalist from Rolling Stone next to me. And her comment was something like, "Well, I purposely didn't give this to you. I gave it to the press person next to you, but I'm glad you got to see it, I guess. Okay. I don't really respond. I don't really engage. And I searched the internet, and I shouldn't just say the internet. I also searched Twitter to see if anyone from the press had sort of put this information out there. Guess what? Nobody put it out there. Weird. It was just me. It was just the horrible, awful journalist who put a picture up to control a narrative. I mean, wild, right? Like I was just, and again, I don't want to engage, but it is pretty ironic that that's the case. That look at this. This is all out there from me and nobody else. So there you go. Yeah. Also, they definitely seem to have it out for inner city press, who's great. And they also, I guess they don't understand sort of how it works when the media receives information, like in the Google Drive, the press Google Drive, with body cam footage, with whatever. I've seen several posts from people say, whoever puts out this footage of Luigi, they're only interested in clout and they're not interested in anything else. And I so badly want to be like, no, that's our job. That is our job. That is public information. And it's just, that's the job. It has nothing to do with clout. It has nothing to do with anything. So yeah, there's a lot of differences, I think, that need to be separated in being an advocate and then being a member of the press. So that's my TED talk. Yeah. I don't know what that was. Was that a TED talk? That was just me bitching, I feel like. And yes, it's fine. You really cannot make everybody happy. Definitely not. That would be too difficult. And also it's fine. I mean, I'm okay. I sleep well at night. I sleep well enough, I should say. The little amount of sleep I get. So guys, let me know if you have any other questions. We're at the hour mark here. I'm going to go ahead and check the Los Angeles Superior Court docket to see if, they have any charging docs there, if they have any probable cause affidavits, arrest probable cause affidavits, whatever. But if you haven't yet, like and subscribe to this channel. It is new. We are trying to grow it. And we would just love to have you here if you can handle my very grating voice. Just kidding. Just kidding. Is this chick a Hassan orbiter? What is that? What does that mean? Thank you so much. I'm actually being dead serious. Can you answer, Nick Overman? What's a Hassan orbiter? Okay, well, I'll wait a second until I figure this out. Oh, you got the notification on X. Okay, yeah, I did post on X before I went live. You know what? Let me just ask Google. Sometimes I feel like there's things that I should know that I don't. Let's see. Oh, he disappeared. Maybe he just popped on to... Oh, it says a Hassan orbiter refers to a person, usually a guy, who orbits around someone, often a woman. Oh, maybe he's behind and he's talking about Joe. It originated as a meme involving Hassan Piker. Oh. Hovers around a person they're attracted to. Oh, what's wrong with me? It's Hassan Piker? Is this chick a Hassan? Oh, he is talking about me. Oh, no. Ew. Hey, thanks, John and Warren. Big fan of the voice. Thanks so much. Okay, Karen and Gen X girl. Okay, thank you. I had never heard of it either, but also I don't listen to freaking Hassan Piker. He is a 9/11 apologist, and I don't care. I don't care to give him a platform. So no, to answer your question, Nick Overman, I'm not a Hassan orbiter. That's a weird thing to say. And I don't know what you would get from me speaking that would deem me a Hassan orbiter, but cool. I stick with team normal too. Okay. Well, I hope everybody is, again, a little bit more educated on the Reiner case after this. Super, super grateful that Geragos jumped on to explain. I was a bit confused at the continuance of the arraignment, but now I think it's clearer than ever. They're definitely going for NGI, and it sounds like there's a lot that we don't know, and that this will probably be granted, and that this is going to be a long and excruciating process. So nobody get impatient. So, okay. Anyway, thanks everyone. And I'm so glad to have you guys here. If you're new, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll be doing a lot more lives once the Mangione hearings are over. So thank you so much. And I'll talk to you all later.